We get to the Wyvern. Is it Wyvern or Wyvern?
Yeah, I'm not sure actually. If there's some Scots in the chat, they could
Yeah.
put this, or what do you call it? Like when you're writing as it is pronounced.
Like a pronunciation language.
Yeah. You just put that in the chat and we'll display it.
Oh, there's the Robo brother in the top right.
Yes.
So I mean, like he was like a late addition to the show. It didn't seem like he was intended to be there from the start.
No, I'm not sure actually. He gets a lot more time in the second season, where like
because he shows up in like the second to last episode, I think, in the first season, and then they have to sort of do like a recap where they insert him into the 900
yeah, no, that was probably true. I don't think that he was meant that way, but they do use him to sort of like try to do more of this imaginary, mix between science fiction and magic, right? Because he is like one.
It's a very cool moment, like a riff on Frankenstein's monster, etc. When he wakes up and he's half gargoyle, half machine,
and he's patched together from 3 different gargoyle corpses, right? So this also results in him having 3 souls, right? Because that's the kind of show this is. So he has to then there's a lot of these plots in the episode that has to do with like the conflict between these 3 souls that exist inside of this one body, and the 3 souls are also in like this kind of romantic triangle drama where like there's 1 woman, 2 men, and one of the men is a little bit more evil, and they're in like this constant suspended limbo inside of his mind. That's like this kind of, it looks like this kind of digital, what do you call it, like this kind of new wave 80s retro wave type landscape where they just exist in perpetual limbo, fighting over control of the body. So there you have like the Shakespearean element weaved in with a lot of the newer sci-fi stuff. This ultimately gets resolved by Xanatos building 3 separate metal bodies, essentially, where he puts 1 soul in each body and they just fly off to go have their own adventures. I mean, it sounds very anticlimactic, but it's a very, mysterious episode until you understand what the twist is, right? But I wanted to then just take a look at the clan here. They changed the name to the Manhattan Clan because the Wyvern is a place in Scotland, right? So because they're not there anymore and they're in Manhattan, they have to have that name now. The Wyvern Clan, of course, included everyone who actually lived on in the castle in the year 997. And I mean, looking at this just from a design perspective, you can see that they had to put 1 color on each, right? It's a very effective way to distinguish them. I think if they had everybody be lavender purple like Goliath, it would be really difficult to kind of explain, which one you're talking about, especially from the kids' perspective. So you have from the left Bronx, that is this dog, and it's, I mean, this is one of the mysteries of the show that is just never explained.
Dog
why they have like a gargoyle dog, and he is apparently the only dog as well. There's no other.
I mean, some of this has to be explained by this being intended for children.
Yes, of course.
I mean, a lot of the front characters here are sort of, childish sub-stories.
They just exist for comic foil, essentially. But it's also explained by the fact that they are younger, right? They are much younger than Goliath. They are kids who are sort of trying to be trained to take leadership positions. But like the dog there, they just named the dog Bronx. Dog helps a lot in many of the episodes, and he is a sort of plot device. It's sort of like, I wouldn't say Deus Ex Machina, but there's a lot of problems that they get in physical confrontations that are just resolved by the fact that they have the dog.
Not sure if he's being serious or he's joking here. Is he actually like a retarded gargoyle?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of people have considered the fact that maybe he is just like some sort of mutant or something, because it's never explained, right? And of course, you say that you're taking it too seriously. This is just a kids show, but you can see some of the footage from these cons, right? That people go to they have like this sort of gargoyle annual meeting. They've stopped having them now, but the footage that they have is like, you have a lot of people with high education. Like they had like a group of biologists who were trying to explain like the evolutionary origins of gargoyles, how that would be possible. I mean,
Jesus.
I thought I thought it was a joke, but apparently they, that was one of the things they did on one of these gatherings, is just to sit down and try to explain the kind of evolutionary pathways to how this could have come about. So we're moving from the left to the right, and you have the character of Broadway, who is like this, what is it? It's more turquoise green. He's a fat character who is used more for comedic foil. Like he's the character who shoots Elisa Massa with the gun, right? I mean, even
That's
until
a
season
scene, because he just shoots and then she just, you can hear her flop or something, and he's like, "Oh, Eliza," and then he like peeks her on the corner, and she's just lying there in a puddle of blood. It's such a strange scene.
But the weird thing is that he never really has any arc outside of just being this comedic foil. But in spite of never really having any growth, he still ends up with
Yeah, it's that one episode where he learns that, shooting guns randomly is bad. And
yeah, no, I mean, of course he learns things, but he doesn't really stop being this kind of oaf character. I mean, in season 3, there's an episode where the Sanatos and his wife Fox, they're sitting and talking about gargoyles and the problem with gargoyle perception in the media, right? Because there's like, you have this kind of like proto Tucker Carlsons who are talking shit about gargoyles on television, right? So, and they're saying that, well, we need to improve the image of gargoyles, right? So they end up just contacting Bronx, because he is like one of the more kind of gullible, self-absorbed, not Bronx, Broadway. And he's one of these more self-absorbed characters, and ask him if he wants to be a movie star, and they start kind of like staging these kind of fake rescue situations that are filmed on camera to improve, public relations for gargoyles, as well as putting him on this they put him on a talk show as well, right? So I mean, that's kind of a funny episode, just for the fact that not for the fact that Broadway learns anything, but the fact that they included this like they have these kind of rich megalomaniacal people who are trying to improve the perception of a minority group in spite of popular opinion. It's a little bit more on the nose than I expected. I mean, especially for a kids show, even though like season 3 is a lot more progressive, it's a lot more kind of like civil rights oriented. But it's true to form in the sense that popular opinion, like people don't want to have gargoyles living in their city. And it's really like these kind of elite people who are constantly trying to push for more acceptance of these gargoyles. The other interesting thing about Broadway is that he actually is able to romance the character on the right, like the furthest right you go. That is Angela. That is the daughter of Goliath and Demona.
Oh, really? This is season 2 stuff.
Yes, it's in season 2 where they sort of explain that they were able to move some of these eggs into Avalon, which also exists here. Like this magic kingdom where King Arthur is actually suspended in like is suspended in some glass structure and so on. But time in Avalon moves slower than time outside of Avalon, and that's why she's still, the correct age. That's the explanation. She's still younger than Goliath and Demona. And like this is one of these interesting kind of story points with this character, where Goliath has to move away from the tradition of this kind of shared parental situation that they have, like where the gargoyles are all supposed to share parental responsibility, because it's just so obvious that it's his daughter, right? So he has to just start using her name and bringing her on as his daughter. Of course, this creates problems because you have 3 like young male gargoyles who all have urges. And this is not something that they're being kind of shy about in the episode. So they have a lot of these episodes. They get some comedic momentum out of them trying to impress, trying to woo Goliath's daughter, which he seems fine with for some reason. Like this is one of the things that I think was almost a little bit out of character. I assumed he would be a little bit more upset with these like 3 loser characters trying to woo his daughter, particularly now that he knows that there are other gargoyles in Japan and in Latin America and so on that are like more alpha than these comic foil people that he spends his time with. But like the reason that I brought that up is like out of these 3 that you have Broadway, Lexington, and Brooklyn, that is the red gargoyle, and the brown one, like the fat one, Broadway is the one that actually ends up romancing Angela. And this seems to really have been a sort of mistake from the season 3 writers, because like when season 3 happened, they outsourced the entire animation to a different studio that were not really that familiar with the backlog of the previous episodes, and they probably misunderstood one of the things that happens in the last Cold Stone episode with this cyborg here, where they try to actually extract the souls from this cyborg into robots. So the first thing they do is that they extract the souls into other gargoyles. So they extract two of these lover souls into Broadway and Angela, and they basically become physically
Okay.
intimate as avatars. But if you just looked at that and you don't have any context for why that is happening, then you'd think that these two are romantically involved, and that seemed to have just gone on to the 3rd season because they didn't really understand why it was happening. So it's completely peculiar. She is a very like high functioning kind of alpha female, and he's like this fat loser character. I mean, you have these relationships on TV. I just found it to be it's a little bit hard to explain in light of the rest of the plot. Okay, so we're moving from the left here again. That you have Lexington here. That's like the manlet brown gargoyle, and his big thing is computers. Really, that's sort of the reason that he is there. He provides some comedic momentum as well. I think in season 1 he has like an episode where he tries to join a biker gang or something.
Yeah, but he also ends up helping Demona. Like she convinces him that she's right, and he lures Goliath into a trap, basically.
I think that I don't think that's Lexington. I think that's actually Brooklyn, the red one.
Oh, sorry, Brooklyn. I thought we were talking about Brooklyn. Oh, sorry.
No, I'm talking about the brown small.
Oh yeah.
Gargoyle.
He at least in the first season is just filler.
Yes, I mean
speedrunner for about $10 says I don't even like watching all the seasons anymore. If anything, it always goes bad after the first season or two, no matter what. That seems to be the case here as well. Yes. Unfortunately.
I mean, you can never stay visionary forever, right? And sometimes it's very hard to end these shows, so they just end up being these properties that are just pushed between studios, and they try to cut costs and so on. So it's both being subjected to more of these kind of like low, to say people who aren't so high in the hierarchy who will do it for cheaper. That combined with like all these civil rights, requirements and so on. Like I imagine like a lot of these studios that they set it out to, they're not going to try to be subversive or anything. They're just going to be thankful that they get the show, so they're going to put in as much civil rights stuff to please
signals of compliance. Yeah.
Okay, the filler character Goliath we've covered already. So further we go to the right, you have Houston. That's like this older character Hudson. Who was like the Hudson, who was the he was the alpha male of this clan before Goliath, basically. So he's been more of like his mentor to Goliath, and he continues to have a bit more of this like this old man role where he tries to advise the younger generation. He's also the only gargoyle who's figured out how to use a knife. Like that's kind of his thing.
He's pretty based with it as well. He does some pretty cool moves.
I mean he has a lot more to do in these plots, where especially in the when they have callbacks to stuff that happened in the past, he's much more involved with it. Much of his arcs in like the later seasons just has to do with him trying to cope with getting older. So
right.
And then we have Brooklyn, that's like the red gargoyle here, who is a bit more like if you look at all of these other young characters, he was sort of supposed to be the one that's going to be the next in line if Goliath gets too old, but it's kind of difficult because he is a bit of he just doesn't have it, right? You can kind of see it on him that he's not really he doesn't have what it takes, basically, and he makes certain improvements, and they try to put him in
he's not going to make it.
Yeah, he's not going to make it. They try to put him in like a leadership position because there's this longer arc in season 2 where Goliath, the Elisa Masa, and the dog Bronx have to go off and travel all around the world to go see these mythological creatures, and they put Brooklyn in as like this interim leader, but he's not really able to do as good of a job. He doesn't have the physicality, he doesn't have like the mental acuity to do this stuff, and he gets cucked quite a lot. You know, he gets cucked because he tries to romance Angela, but he gets cucked prior to that as well. He tries to romance one of these furries. You know, there's this furry character that's actually just a homeless woman that Sanatos pulled in to do experiments with like his biotech guy, Dr. Savarius or something. And he tries to romance that character, and that doesn't go well for him. Then he later tries to romance the Golet's daughter, and that doesn't work. So it's yeah, he's a bit of a pitiful character, even though he plays. I think he's a bit more of an active role than some of these other characters.
He certainly, yeah. Speedrunner says total beta moves, and that feels he feels like he's constantly like a pawn for everyone else. It seems.
Yeah. I mean, because he's a simp, right? And that's why he's being fooled by Demona on multiple occasions, right? He'll just do anything for a little bit of female attention. I think we covered this one nicely. Let's take a look at the
Glow in the Dark with a good point here for $5. Hudson is shown as a competent leader and not just for laughs. He may be more lax in his age, but he will do what he needs to do. Exactly. He usually is the advisor to Goliath as well on many points when Goliath is being sort of unreasonable, right?
Yes.
He'll be the one who's like, come on, it's time to go, right?
We've done enough, right? He's still a very smart and competent character. Although he's settling much into this old man role, right? He's getting too much into television and crosswords. I think his energy is being sapped by modern
modernity.
Life. Yep.